I am probably the worst social distancer in the world right now, because the minute they announced phase one in California, I got in my car to drove to visit my mom. So this
Yeah.
is her backyard by the beach in Oxnard, California. So probably never heard of it before. It's quite lovely.
Well, it is beautiful. I have, who is this behind me? Like Escaflowne or something?
I can't tell, it's a little dark, but sure,
It's some
Escaflowne.
anime thing because I'm
Whatever.
in my daughter's room.
Right. It's all good. It's all good. Well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is our third episode of Visiting Broadway, hosted by Miss Linda Shell and Mr. Bobby Traversa from Experience First. Now, today is really awesome because in addition to getting to hear me and Linda speak, we actually have a special guest that we'll let in a little bit. But before we do that, let's do some kind of like what do you call it? Not house cleaning, house rules, house. Linda, I'm talking to you. State of affairs. I don't know.
Let's just tell everybody what we're doing.
Yeah, what we're doing. Okay, so if this is the first time you turned into Visiting Broadway, as everyone knows, not a lot of people can get to Broadway right now, and unfortunately, Broadway has been closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Every single Broadway show has had to temporarily close their doors due to social distancing and safety measures and things like that. And Linda and I, both professionals in the industry, also New York City tour guides that have led, I would venture to say, thousands of tourists through the theater district.
Oh, absolutely, thousands, easily.
Thousands of tourists through the theater district, sharing our stories and things like that. And so Linda and I came up with the brilliant idea to share those stories with you guys online during all of this. And so that's what this show is all about, is to kind of show you Broadway, even though none of us can get there at the moment, and bring some special guests along the way. What else?
Well, we also want to mention that we have some people who might be joining us. I'm going to check that out on Facebook and YouTube and Broadway World.
Right.
We're streaming live. So that's exciting. Hi to everybody out there who's checking in. And we have to, actually, it's kind of exciting because we're gonna, we've been sort of feeling this out, especially for me. This is like all new technology. So I'm sort of, actually, Bobby, you're good at everything.
I don't think that's true.
But you are true. It is true. You are good at everything, but I appreciate it. And we've been sort of developing this as we go, because we do know a lot of people and know a lot of things, and we have fun hanging out together. So we thought, you guys, you can just like watch us hang out. But today's special because we actually have our first bona fide guest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he's someone that we met in New York through the tour guide company, Experience First, and formerly New York Tour One. I remember I had been a tour guide with the company for a short period of time, and then they asked me to train him on a tour of Lower Manhattan, and we had a good laugh. Maybe we'll talk about that later, but since then, we realized that he is just this super talented guy. He's like a brilliant talent. He's done a lot. We'll let him tell you a little bit about what he's done, but maybe we want to give everybody a little intro to who Eric Williams is before we actually invite him into the room.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I have a little bit of a video. Do we want to go ahead and show that, or do we want to do a verbal one first, Linda?
Well, I mean, he'll tell us about himself. Let's do a little video and then we'll bring him in, and he can talk to us and tell him everything that he did and is doing.
So let me get this ready. I want to make sure.
And I know Eric is watching. He's there.
Perfect. Okay. Technology. This is our first time on Zoom. We were on a different platform before. So perfect.
Hi, Peter.
All right. Okay. Here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Eric William.
Today we're going to Battery Park with our tour guide, Eric Williams, former Broadway actor turned tour guide, to show us the amazingness of New York.
Okay, stop. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Wait, can you stop it?
No.
Oh, well, let's keep.
No. Go.
Sorry. Because I had to say that film clip, our tour guide, Eric Williams, we need to go back
Okay.
and see when he says former Broadway actor and now he's a tour guide.
Okay.
Just please watch Eric's face, because I swear I see his soul leave his body a little. He dies a little. Do it again.
Okay.
Turn tour guide to show us the amazingness of guides. Turn tour guide. Former Broadway actor turned tour guide to show us.
It's when
Yeah, here it is.
his eyes close a little bit.
He goes, turn tour guide. He's like, oh. Ow. But anyway, he's so, look at that face. Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going. I will shut up.
No, it's all good. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
No topping list. Paul, what are you doing?
Eating a Triscuit?
Paul, there's nothing on that Triscuit.
What? They don't need toppings.
Paul!
Janet. Oh.
Triscuit. Delicious, even with nothing on, which caused Jimmy to get in some unfortunate situations.
Hey, this has been chewed. Like, who chewed this? Oh, gosh. Playing Ohio Lottery Pick 3, I see. Great bets are easy peasy. Just match 3 numbers in order and win the old-fashioned way. This, on the other hand, is not so simple. Oh, gosh. Oh, geez. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
Cool. And here we go.
Oh, I think without any further ado, we need to bring that man in here.
Yes. Oh gosh.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Where is he? Ladies and gentlemen.
Eric.
Let's welcome. Where is he? There he is, Eric.
You guys, I'm laughing so hard with your commentary. I am so happy to be here.
Yay, we're happy to have you.
I'm really upset that you could see my soul escape my body. I thought I covered it.
Well, you didn't.
Really good. The only reason I saw it is because I know you a little bit, and I would feel in that moment, but I did. I'm subtle.
Yeah, it was former Broadway actor turned tour guide.
Oh, I remember the day that video got filmed, Eric. That was fun.
It was fun.
But you got the laugh, didn't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was just an honor to be nominated.
Now, so Eric, tell us what you've been up to pre-quarantine, during quarantine. I'm just gonna say I've been enjoying your daily new home a lot.
Thank you. It's so funny. Before quarantine feels like 20 years ago, but I guess I did have a life before this. I was, you know what's crazy is, the beginning of this year, I was traveling a ton doing a show with other former tour guide, Esther Steinberg, who I love dearly. We did a show that we had been joking about writing for years and years, and then we wrote it. It's called Esther and Eric's One Woman Show, and it's basically about these two.
Best title of a show ever.
Oh my God, Bobby, you are so prepared. I am so impressed. Well, there it is. There she is.
Oh man.
So we did this show in New York a few times. Then we kind of made it better and better. And then we did it in the New York Comedy Festival. And then we ended up at the beginning of this year, which feels like so long ago. We did it in LA, we did it in Denver, we did it in my hometown of St. Louis. And then the plan was to,
Broadway.
The plan was to Broadway transfer. We did a joke when we did it in New York. It did well because people knew what we were talking about. At the end of the show, we would say, okay, we're actually about to announce we're transferring to the Richard Rodgers. And everyone was like, not happening. But the plan was to, after Esther has her baby, which is it is going to be next week.
Oh my gosh.
A human child. Then we would, obviously welcome her baby, raise her baby for a couple minutes, and then in the fall do more dates. But yeah, so I was doing that show a lot, auditioning for a lot of, silly things, commercial, TV.
Did you just say Esther's had a baby?
She's having a baby.
Oh my gosh. A human being.
She's having a human being.
Oh man, I wish she was here right now.
I know. I actually was talking with her earlier today. What's crazy is
that's amazing. Well,
both of our lives kind of mirrored each other in crazy ways. If anyone's watching and doesn't know who she is, an amazing stand-up comedian, amazing performer, amazing person. And she and I got married 1 month apart from each other. So we were writing this show while we were both planning weddings. And then she got married in September. We then did, we did this, here's what it was. We did the show in August in New York. Then she got married in September. Then I got married in October. And then a week after my honeymoon, we performed it in the New York Comedy Festival in November. And then while all this is happening, she found out she was pregnant. So it's been, and also I'm pregnant too, which is I'm so blessed.
That's so weird.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's mostly.
Let's raise a glass.
Hey, what are you drinking?
I'm sad to say that I do just have water right now, but you know what? I might join you with some vodka in a minute. My husband Matt last night made a gimlet. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called a gimlet. It is so delicious.
What is it?
It's vodka or gin, I'm told. You shake it in some ice, and then it's lemony and sweet and some. Oh my God, he's in the other room. He's gonna be so mad if I'm not.
Isn't it kind of like a lime flavor?
Yeah.
In a gimlet.
Maybe it's lime and not lemon. Whatever it is, it was. Oh, he's texting me. It's lime.
Is that your phone?
I don't know what to do. It's my computer. It's getting texted.
Don't make me go all Patty LuPone on you now.
No, stop. Oh my God. So,
oh no.
I do. I'm really not a smart person.
So it's lime. It's delicious. So
it's delicious. Okay. So, anyways, I'm turning it off. So
yeah.
So, what were we talking about before
that?
So she's having her baby, and then and then after the baby, she was gonna raise the baby for a minute, and then
we were gonna tour the show a million places all around this beautiful country. And so we'll see when Feeder comes back, but Esther and I are always making stuff, and I'm writing some things. I make very, very silly videos, like Linda was saying, on my Instagram. That really, the main reason why I make it is just for my own sanity and something to focus on. But the nice byproduct is that people have been sending me nice messages that I think they're silly and funny. But really, it's purely selfish because my husband has a job. I don't have a job. So I am just spending my days with a green screen and a dream.
Well, you're kind of a viral internet star, right? A little bit.
Oh, you two have that in common, don't you?
No,
his is legit famous though.
No, yours is actually based on talent and intelligence and gorgeousness, and mine is just a gross joke about a turkey.
Oh my God, the turkey!
We won't share that link, but if you look hard enough, I'm sure you could find it. But Eric is quite famous because of a holiday-themed video that's got millions upon millions of views. Like, it's ridiculous.
I knew that he was funny.
Oh yeah.
You know, when we did that first tour together, and you were like talking about the building behind us, and you were describing it with all its history and then after the tour, I said, Eric, you were pointing to the health club. The building that you're referring to is across the street. But yeah, you did it you were so committed. So I knew this guy's funny. But when I saw the Thanksgiving video,
I just was caught by Inspiration by Magic.
Oh, I don't know. I can't even describe it. People just have to find it. It's like what, a 10, 12-second video?
Like
Oh,
6,
short.
8 seconds. Like it's a short video. But yeah, definitely. Maybe maybe my, I think my website, you can find it easily. My ericdanielwilliams.com. But Linda, that tour that you watched, I will never forget. I will never forget. At the end of the tour, I was nervous because I didn't know the information as well. So I was like, and there's Bowling Green. Wow, Battery Park. Great tour, you guys. Any questions? Linda. And you were like, oh, you did a great job. Maybe look up a couple facts about Bowling Green. And I was like,
Yes.
turns
Just
out,
naming things.
Okay, so you're a tour guide and you're a viral internet star. You also do musical theater. Like, have you been on Broadway yet or not?
so no, that was the other read that, and I truly love Ariel, who I did that tour with.
Oh,
Right.
Beautiful, amazing guy. But the other thing was like, I didn't want to have to explain like, haven't been on Broadway per se, but the answer is no. I've not performed on Broadway. I've not performed in a Broadway show on Broadway, but I like to stretch the imagination and say that I've been on a Broadway national tour.
okay.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like this one right here, right?
Look, there is.
So you starred as Buddy the Elf in the national tour of Elf the Musical, which is
that's my.
How many years did you do that? How many seasons?
The short answer is I did the show. I performed the show 2 seasons, but I ended up doing a lot of publicity for I did like 4 years. I worked on the show like 4 separate years, but I went out on the road twice.
You were the media buddy, right?
Yeah, there was a couple years where I was like the media buddy. I did the show twice, but I was involved with the show 2014 to 2018.
Oh my gosh.
And actually, I haven't thought about this in a while, but I auditioned for the show first in 2013. I saw Sebastian Arcellos, who played Buddy originally on Broadway. I saw him perform World's Greatest Dad, one of the songs that Buddy sings, and I was like, I need to sing that song. I need to be in that show. So they were holding auditions. I went. I did it. My first New York show really was the Berenstain Bears musical.
Of course.
Where I did herniated disc in my lower back, which I live with to this day. However, the choreographer of that was working on Elf, and so I was like, oh, I have it in the back. So I went to the audition. I got a call back. I was like, I have it in the back. Turns out I got cut. Did not have it in the bag. Did not get the show. And then a year later, I was like, okay, this is my show. This is my role. I got to do it. And then it was like 2 months of auditioning, 8 or 9 callbacks. And my husband and I have been together for, it'll be 7 years.
Oh my goodness.
But at that point, we've been dating for, like 6 months, I think. And I remember it was a very all-consuming process. I was just like nervous about getting the role, of course. And after my final callback in front of 20 people, we jumped on a train to go to the Jersey Shore to Asbury Park to just celebrate that it was done. And then I found out that night while we were at dinner at the Jersey Shore that I booked the part. And Matt took a picture and a video of me getting the call, like crying on the beach.
That's awesome.
Oh wow.
And so
amazing.
You did another great show in New York City too, right? And I think you understudied someone pretty famous, right?
I did Full House the musical with Perez Hilton, our generation's Barrymore. I'm kidding, he's a dream, but
Right?
Legend. But so that quick story is that I think I had finished Elf in 2014. I got back to the city and I was like, well, I just finished this big show. I cannot wait to book my next part in 2.5 days. Of course, I was auditioning my butt off, and I was probably for a few months just auditioning. I wasn't booking anything. And then out of the blue, I saw this posting about the Full House musical. They were looking for someone to play Danny Tanner. And I was like, whatever, we'll do another audition. So I went, and I think I did like cold read from the script. And then I found out while I was moving out of an apartment, they were like, hey, we actually have someone playing that part, but it's Perez Hilton. He needs an understudy in Toronto because there's going to be a week where he's gone. Can you come with us to Toronto? in like 2 weeks. And then we're going to do it in New York. And of course, I had nothing else to do. So I said yes. So I rehearsed in New York for a little bit and then went to Toronto. And then the story goes, we did like 3 weeks in Toronto, and Perez Hilton's, the job that he was supposed to leave for, that I was understudying him for, got canceled. And so I didn't go on a single time in Toronto. So, but I got to learn the show, hang out with the awesome people that were doing the show. Tobley and Bob, who wrote it, are still writing shows like that today. They are amazing, amazing people. And we got back to New York. Perez did it in New York for a while. I was still understudying him. He left. I replaced him. I did it for a long time. And then, while all this was happening, I became a tour guide at New York Tour One Experience First.
Which brings us to the topic of the episode. I don't know if we've said it yet, Linda, but the topic of today's episode, for anyone watching, is the odd jobs we do. Now, I don't know if tour guiding is necessarily the oddest job in the world. I know personally, I feel like I lucked into it. I was doing a very odd job at the time. I was a toy demonstrator at FAO Schwartz, which might seem like a dream job to somebody, but yelling at children all day, every day for hours upon end, and working for commission, making them have to buy toys from you is not the funnest thing in the world. But yeah, so today we kind of wanted to have a little bit of a roundtable for a couple minutes, and maybe share some of the odd jobs we've had over the years to pay the bills in between acting gigs.
And also see if there's anybody on here, anybody watching out there in live stream land who wants to chime in. If you're in the performing arts, what do you do for an odd job? What have you done? What's the weirdest job you've ever had? So you were a toy demonstrator, and that's how you.
Yeah, I moved to New York in 2012 and could not get hired anywhere, which was real magical. And I lucked out because I had sold magic tricks at Disneyland in college. And I met someone who had also done that, and he was hiring at FAO Schwartz. And I sold 3 toys, one of which I was really good at, the other I was not so great at. I sold Marvin's Magic Drawing Board, which, if you remember those really corny infomercials from when Eric and I were kids, the early 90s. It's like a blackboard and you press on it and it's rainbow and it looks so cool. They're actually the hardest toy in the world to use. And I was a 27-year-old man, like barely being able to draw on it. And like, you should buy this for your 4-year-old child. And they're like, great, let them try it. And we weren't allowed to let them try it because 4-year-olds couldn't use it. So it was the worst thing in the world, but I was really good at selling those ones.
FAO Schwartz is canceled. They were selling toys to children that were too advanced. Send it to kids, and he was on it.
Oh, you don't even know. I sold them, and you would get celebrities in there. And so you would get like, I had Kirstie Alley once who came through and was like, that looks hard. And I'm like, it's so easy. Let me try it. And how do you not let Kirstie Alley like try your toy?
Notoriously kind and gentle Kirstie Alley.
She bought one though. She was like, "You're a good salesman."
I think I need to hear this story.
No, I mean that's just all it is.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We can talk later.
Yeah.
Remind me.
Yeah, no. So I did that, but the other toy that I sold that was absolutely terrible was those bubbles that you blow. You put it at the end of the straw. It's like toxic glue.
Oh, those were around when I was a kid.
Yeah, and they
made the plastic bubbles, and yeah, it's like if you're in the room with them, you're breathing that in.
Oh, awful.
That was the worst. So toxic, so dangerous.
Awful. So I would blow up giant ones and I would literally like throw them at children in the store and just scream magic bubbles. And they would buy them, but it was miserable. But that's how I found my way to Experience First, which was a fantastic job. So
was that the weirdest job? Was that the weirdest job you ever had?
No, when I graduated from high school, I stood by the freeway holding a sign protesting a construction site. So that's probably the weirdest one.
Did you twirl the sign?
Got paid for that?
Yeah, I got paid like $10 an hour, which in 2003, that was money. Sunburn every day.
What about you, Eric? What was the weirdest job you ever had?
I would say weird. I mean, it's a tie probably between my first New York job was Shake Shack.
Which one?
We opened the Theater District location on 44th and 8th Avenue. I was
Wow.
New York 19. So that was somewhat rough, but then I also, during a tough period, I did TaskRabbit, where you like get hired for odd jobs.
Oh,
I'm not very good at stuff, so like I don't know why I thought like I'll build your IKEA furniture when like I'm the last person to do that. But I think one of the luckiest experiences I had with TaskRabbit is that someone said, I will pay you $10 to just pick up all these books from my apartment building, and you can do whatever you want with those books. So I was like, okay, the apartment's in the West Village. It's not that far from the Strand. I'm gonna pick up these books with a suitcase, take it to the Strand, see what I can get. I get to the apartment. There were a lot of books. I put them on the suitcase. I took a taxi. I spent the $10 I made on the taxi, but then I went to the Strand and I sold them. I think I made $200.
oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
What
I
about you,
tried
Miss
to do
Linda?
TaskRabbit. Well, I mean, so I'm a lot older than you fellas. So I have had a lot of weird jobs. My most of the professional work that I've done a tiny bit of theater in New York, and it's been mostly singing my whole life. And I'm what we call a gig whore. I mean, if there's a gig, I say yes, whatever it is. And so I've done a lot of different kinds of gigs, but there were times in between where I did other things. The weirdest job I ever had was as a human dry erase board.
Oh my God.
So I was working for this karaoke or DJ company in Manhattan at one point, and I was doing DJ stuff and I was hosting karaoke shows all over the place. Worst job ever. But they got this call for a private party, and it was at Grand Central Station. And it was like this very fancy kind of cocktail party. And they hired a bunch of us. And this was, God, that must have been 20 years ago when I was still kind of, young and hot. And they hired me to put on the front of me was a big dry erase board. And on the back of me was another giant dry erase board. And it was like a placard that I was walking around with. And they had little dry erase pens and erasers that were like on magnets. So here I am, picture my whole front and my whole back. And I've got these little pens and these erasers just like attached to me. And I'm walking around this cocktail party, just getting people to write on me. And then we were playing like tic-tac-toe across the room. Like I would walk over and I'd, and then I'm walking across and they would put an X or an O. But what happened after the drinks were flowing, it started with, people were sending messages to each other, like questions and answers. But guess what they started drawing?
Body parts.
Yes.
This sounds kinky and I'm not about it. I'm picturing all these businessmen that are like, look at
That's
you.
exactly what it was. It was a complete, it was all like these, yeah.
As a man, I can say men are canceled, men are the worst. Why are there men?
Why are there men?
It got embarrassing, and it was hard to hold my head high, but
You are.
That was the weirdest job I ever had.
Good for you. Know what? You survived, and you are an icon. And those businessmen.
But I got to be a tour guide through. I was in a show in New Jersey called David Michael Finkelstein's Bar Mitzvah.
Ooh, I love.
Is that kind of like Tony and Tina's wedding?
No. It wasn't. Was it a bar mitzvah or a wedding? I did this show for 4 weeks in Jersey, and now I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it was a really fun show, and I got to play like the mother of the groom, and it was fun, So I made the wedding all about me, and I was like a big diva. I had this cool song and whatever. I was in this show. Coming home on the train with another actress, and it's somebody we should get in here. You all know her, Rory.
Oh yeah, Rory.
Yeah, Rory is a pretty talented lady. We were doing a murder mystery. It was a dinner theater. So we're driving home on the train from this dinner theater, and Rory says on the train, I have to get up early tomorrow because I have a tour. And I was like, what do you mean you have a tour? We're doing a show. She's like, oh no, I'm doing walking tours. And I'm like, walking tours? What's that? And then she explained it to me. And I said, that sounds like fun. And then I got to audition for the job of tour guide, and that's how I became a tour guide. How did you do this? You guys, you fellas.
Me?
How'd you get to be a tour guide?
Well, I was toy demonstrating, like I said.
Yeah.
And I had actually been promoted, so this is awful. I got promoted to assistant manage the Toys R Us Times Square team, demonstration team. And right as I did that, I was like, my life is over. Like, this is awful. And a friend of mine saw the ad on playbill.com looking for tour guides, and they're like, you would be really good at this. And I was like, I don't really know a lot about history. I know a lot about Broadway musicals, but like, they're like, you should totally just apply for this. And I did, and I auditioned for Andrew and Tom, who I think the two of you guys know. Andrew is the owner of the company. Tom is, I believe, the operations manager for the New York office. Don't quote me on that. But I had the worst audition in the world. Like, literally, it was awful.
Bobby,
And
I don't believe you. I don't.
no, it was truly awful. And Andrew laughed a lot, which is weird because Andrew doesn't necessarily laugh a lot of things. So, but Tom was very stoic. Tom is usually the jovial one.
Stoic.
And so I was like, but I didn't know either of them at the time, but I bombed it, especially like when they're like, look at this picture of Times Square and tell us about it. And I was like, I have no idea. I walked out of there and I was like, this is awful. I'm going to be assistant managing at Toys R Us forever. And I was shocked to get a phone call. I was actually trained by Tom and Remy. And after I passed and I started doing well that first month, Tom pulled me aside, and I'm not quoting this exactly, but he's like, I'm glad you do a good job because we were worried about you. In fact, the only reason I said, why don't we give him a chance is because you worked at Disneyland. I worked at Disneyland in college. And he's like, you remind me of one of the Jungle Cruise skippers. Not necessarily a good one,
Wow.
but you remind me of that. And so that's how it happened for me. I don't know about you, Eric. I think we have a question though. Cool. We'll get to
Oh,
this.
it's a good question from Alexander Siegel.
Yeah, but let's hear Eric's story and then we'll get to this right after it. Okay.
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 So how did it happen to you?
My story is similar to you, Bobby. I think I saw a Playbill posting, and the timeline is that I had been auditioning for a while, and I don't think it was before I booked Full House. It was between Elf and Full House, so I was like looking for a job, and I was on my way to the audition for the tour guide job, and Remy Germanario, who was auditioning me, who is we love, he and I know him because I subletted a room in his apartment in college.
Wait, did you really?
I sure
I didn't
did.
know that.
I had no idea.
Wow, small world.
He texted me. I was on my way. He said, "Are you auditioning for this tour guide job?" And I was like, "Mm-hmm." He's like, "I'm the one interviewing you." And I was like, "Well, on the streets." So I did the audition, got the job, and then I, just started training and doing Soho, Little Italy, and Chinatown first, and then training with Linda on Lower Manhattan. And it's been, I think that was like 5 to 6 years ago.
Oh my gosh, was it really?
Yeah.
But you quickly became, I'm just gonna toot your horn a little bit, like one of the top tour guides in the company. Like, it didn't take long. Like, 5-star leader. Like, maybe not as high as Linda, because Linda was up there, but
never.
pretty close though. I mean, you were up there all the time.
I don't want to toot my own horn. I'll let you do that.
Linda, watching Linda give it tour is an experience.
Stop.
Everyone has.
I mean, yeah, I did hold the record for 5-star reviews for 2 straight years, but we don't have to talk about that.
Who's counting?
But you were fierce and fantastic really, really early on. I mean, I think once you started, it was like, oh, Eric is great.
I'm not just.
Well, I mean, look at him. He's so charming.
I know.
I'm not buttering biscuits just to butter, but I watched Bobby, Linda, Rachel McKinney, Remy, like the people I watched were like these giants in the industry. You are just all so good at what you do, and I really, really, really credit. The only reason why I did well is because I learned from you guys that were so good. And so I was like, oh, this is what you have to do to be good. and you can enjoy it while you do it. And if you are enjoying it, then the guests will enjoy it more. Boo, boo, boo. And then I just like, what it just really being a tour guide is so fun, and it also changed the way I think I and my husband travel. Just like our
Me
company is
too.
great. It's such a great company, and our tours are so good and fun. And when I go around the world, like when I was in Italy on my honeymoon, we of course did walking tours, and it's just like it shows you how you can learn from the locals, from people that bring so much more personality and meaning to where you are, and it changed my life.
It changed me too when I was on that train with Rory on the way home from that dinner theater, and she said tour, and I didn't know this was a thing. And now, like everywhere I go, the first thing I do is look up a good walking tour.
And you'll always remember your tour guides wherever you are, where you've traveled. I'll always remember my Florence tour guide when I was in Barcelona. I had a great
amazing.
tour guide. So we, as tour guides, people when they come to New York, they're like, I remember that tall gay guy in Soho forever.
Forever. Okay, so we have a question, and this kind of moves us to our last and final section of the video, Eric. Thank you for spending so much time with us. There's an Alexander Siegel who says, Eric, what have you been doing to stay busy during the lockdown? And are you involved in any web series or podcasts at the moment? So you have your show. So why don't you tell them more and about like where they can watch it?
Such a great question, Alexander Siegel. I have been working on tons of videos, and my Instagram is at Eric Wills, ERICWILLZ, and I guess that's really where you can see all my stuff. I'm writing some projects on my own that hopefully will come to light soon. I'm going to be doing some Instagram live series. This is actually my first time on a live experience, and I'm having the time of my life. And before this, I was like, if this goes well, I think this would be something to continue to do. So, moral of the story, I have a lot of silly videos on my Instagram. I'm going to be doing some live stuff, but if you follow me there, you can stay tuned. And also, my show with Esther, we're going to be continuing that. It's going to have a live going in the future.
Are you going to do a live stream version of that?
We've been talking about doing that, Esther and Eric's one-woman live stream. So stay tuned for that. There's also a lot of fun videos that Esther and I have done together. Esoteric Comedy. If you go to our Facebook, Esoteric Comedy, facebook.com/Esoteric Comedy, there's some really good sketches there. But thanks for the question, Alexander Siegel.
Well, if anyone's watching and they have a question, please shout it out. We do have someone monitoring both YouTube and Facebook. But until we get another one in, this little section, one of the things that Linda and I'm sure you love about being an actor and talking to people who want to know more about actors in New York is kind of, they want to see the big Broadway theaters and kind of the touristy stuff, but then they also want to know, like, where do you eat lunch? Like, where do you go drink? Where do you that? So we kind of want to pick your brain a little bit and ask you some of those questions. So Eric, as an actor, maybe it's between auditions, maybe it's after a show. What's your favorite place to grab a bite to eat? Sit down, take out, whatever.
Okay, so I spend a lot of time when I'm auditioning. I spend a lot of time around Madison Square Park. It's one of my favorite parks in the city. Around 28th Street and Broadway.
Flatiron.
Yeah, so like exactly, the Flatiron Building, the park is all there. I audition there a ton, so I will get a bite to eat. I'm sad to say one of them is a chain. I'm so sorry, but I get sandwiches at Potbelly. But also around there are some really great wine bars on Broadway. There's the Ace Hotel, which has a really, really great coffee shop and like a seating area inside where you can work. And I love spending time at the Ace Hotel.
Do you ever go into that Eataly over there?
Yes, Eataly I love.
And the original Shake Shack.
Exactly, the first Shake Shack is right there in the park. Eataly, Ace Hotel. There's a Schnippers around there that's really great.
Yes.
And then you can just walk down to Union Square. I go to Grey Dog a lot. Great spot for lunch. And it's funny because there's even pre-pandemic, there's a bunch of places that, since New York changes so frequently, there's a lot of places that I would have recommended a year or two ago that are gone. There's a place called Coffee Shop down there that was really fun that closed down in Union Square. But that's like where a lot of my auditions happen for commercial stuff. There's a lot of theater auditions, you know, Pearl Studios, Ripley Career, all that stuff on 8th Avenue. There's some really great spots around there. There's, if you're at nighttime, you want to go out and get a drink, Glass House Tavern. There's a lot of Broadway people that go there. It's kind of like a little annoyingly sceney, but like.
Are we doing this?
What about, I know I'm now like going from lunch into other territories.
Okay. It's okay.
If you see a Broadway show, you know, Joe Allen for dinner, you can see a lot of great people there. I always think when we give tours, the question people say, okay, we're seeing a show in Times Square, where should we eat in Times Square? And every time you're like, stop, and there are great places, but you gotta search for them. Like there's El Centro, I don't know if you guys have been to El Centro. It's in Hell's Kitchen, really great Mexican spot. Vinyl closed down. I love Vinyl.
So sad. Oh my gosh.
But like we always got to talk about Schmackery's cookies.
Who?
Schmackery's, Linda.
Schmackery's. It's Broadway's cookie shop.
Schmackery's?
Maybe you left, or maybe you stopped being in New York full time. Right.
Well, I'm a Brooklyn girl.
It's a newer place, though, ish.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, because I left New York like over 3 years ago.
Yeah, Schmackery's has become the Broadway cookie place. That's what he says. What about you guys? I mean, what are your guys' like haunts?
Well, Bobby, let me ask you a question before we get into that. How much time do we have left? Is it 3 minutes?
I think we can fudge it a little bit, as long as Eric's fine on time.
You know what? I actually have a meeting. No, of course, it's fine.
We got 10 minutes.
I've been busier in the last 2 weeks than I've ever been, like in the last 3 years.
Linda, good work.
We'll take about 10 minutes. So if anyone has a question, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll gab a little bit, and maybe we'll ask Eric one or two more, and then we'll do a little closing section because, yeah, that's what we do. So Linda, I think we talked on a previous episode, Eric, about ours.
Yes.
Of course.
But you know, I enjoy Printer's Alley. I think on 40th Street, it's a sports bar. They play games in the basement. It's a lot of straight dudes and like random Broadway people pop in. But they're really great.
We forgive them.
Yeah, we forgive them. But it's away from the tourists. So not that I don't enjoy tourists. It's just, it's not Red Lobster, but that's, you know. And Linda loves, well, her restaurant's not there anymore. That's the sad thing.
I know. We were talking about last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the first Broadway show that I ever saw. And my father, it was Pippin. It was the original Broadway cast.
Oh, right. I did see that. Yeah.
And my dad took me to Mama Leone's, which was it wasn't a good restaurant, but it was just kind of special. What would you compare that now? What's that place with the sauce? The place with the sauce on the street by the other place.
Olive Garden?
That place. I love that place.
Not Olive Garden. It's like a small chain.
With the sauce?
They have the sauce.
Oh, Buca di Beppo. No. Sauce.
Got a name. I'll think of it.
Okay. Well,
but
then...
no, I'm not much. When I go to the city to eat, when I was in the city to eat, we would just go like to 8th Avenue, 9th Avenue, and just find some little place, some Mexican place with a $5 margarita.
Oh, yeah.
$5.
That was kind of our big hang, 8th and 9th Avenue. You know who used to turn me on to a couple of those $5 margaritas was Rory. We're going to have to get in touch with Rory. We're going to have to get her in here. Yeah.
Full circle.
I want to say, before I forget, you were talking about your audition with Andrew and Tom for the company for New York Tour 1, and I auditioned for Andrew also, and my audition was same as yours, and where he would hold up a picture of something in New York, and he would say, now I'm going to hold up a picture, and I want you to just talk about it. And I don't even care if it's false or true or what it is, just don't stop talking. And I was like, okay. So he held up the picture of the Times Square kiss, with the sailor and the nurse. And I looked at it and I just started talking about my father in World War II. And it was like this crazy thing. And I remember he said, don't stop. So I didn't stop. And he was cracking up laughing. He was like red in the face laughing. And finally he just said, okay, stop. And I got the job as a tour guide. But the reason I'm bringing it up also is because I want to kind of segue into something new that we're doing, Bobby.
Oh gosh.
It's a new live stream.
Okay.
Maybe you should tell the people about it. And
Yeah,
Eric, maybe you'll want to join on and maybe we could get Eric to be a competitor.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because I'm hosting it. I am hosting it, though. This is really the brain love child. I mean, I honestly think that it was thought up between me and Dara. Lovely Dara. Several years ago when we were having boozy brunch, we were like, there should be a reality competition with tour guides. We didn't know what it was, but given everything COVID, trying to pass the time, on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time, we will be doing So You Think You Can Tour Guide. And it is a competition show. It's kind of like the TV show Chopped, mixed with this story of what we did in the tour guide auditions, the idea of being thrown out an image or a locale and being forced to use your tour guide skills to see. And so there'll be 3 competitors each episode and 3 judges.
Oh my God.
There'll be 2 rounds where we determine a winner. And then we plan on doing like a semifinals and like a thing, and there'll be some kind of prize. Dara's figuring it out. But we're starting with New York, and we hope to branch to some of the company's other locations: Paris, Los Angeles, San Francisco.
So funny.
And then maybe do like an all-star where it's like the winner of New York versus the winner of Paris versus whatever. So
you're the new RuPaul. But
this is Dara. Dara. I'm just.
You're both the new RuPaul. This is going to take over the world and change history.
It's going to change history. Well, Linda is competing on the first episode, but she will be.
Well, no, Bobby, listen. You know what? Bobby says to me, "Oh, we're doing this thing, and do you want to be involved?" And I'm envisioning. I'm like, "Oh, totally." And then I got an email from Dara. She's like, "We want to know if you want to be involved." So, Eric, I'm envisioning. I'm the judge. Like I'm one of the judges. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be, because I love to give my opinion. Seriously, like there's nothing I love more than if somebody asks me to give my opinion about something. Oh my gosh. So I'm like, totally, I'm on board. I'm in. Then I get this email from Dara and she's like, okay, sweet. Thanks so much. So you're going to be on one of the first contestants. I'm like, wait a minute.
I know, but that's the reason is because you'll be leading the Paris version for obvious reasons. So we wanted to have that like Food Network synergy where it's like, she's gonna be a judge on this version, but she's the leading because obviously. But guess who, tell them who you're competing against, okay?
I'm competing against Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew and, oh gosh, who's our third contestant?
Is it gonna be Jen?
I think it's Jen Andres, yeah. Jen Andres, and then the judges are Dara, Remy, and AJ.
So okay. But is it going to be? So we're going to start this, and is it going to be kind of opened up to like the general public to compete, or is it going to be like open to tour guides, or like?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is it going to be like for former Broadway performers like Eric Williams?
Former Broadway performers. I think at first we're going to be just mining, people who currently work. With or have work. But, Dara and I have talked about it. We would love to open it up to any tour guide who might be interested in competing because I think it'd be fun. You don't necessarily have to work for experience first. And then you don't even necessarily need to compete in New York. A New York City tour guide, if you've been to the city and you know a lot about it and you happen to tour guide somewhere else, like, again, it's about looking at this picture of like the Times Square building or the Times Square kiss, and how can you on the spot like be a tour guide with that, you know?
Does it have to be factual?
No, it doesn't.
No.
In fact, that's part of the scoring model that she's put together. So it's really cool. So that's on Sunday, if anyone wants to check it out. The last thing I want to mention, because we should close off, we could go on forever, is the three of us are, you know, tourist professionals who sadly work in an industry that is on hold right now due to the pandemic. And as much fun as it is to do these videos, you know, I think we're all looking for ways to get some income in, and the company Experience First, who's hosting these video chats, has been so gracious to put together a page on their website where anyone who's watching, who may watch this after it's over, who may have enjoyed it and wanted to throw some money at, that's weird to say, but you tip tour guides.
I know. We did. Well, we said, what were some of the, Eric, let me ask you, when you were a tour guide, what was your technique for soliciting tips?
I always made sure to let people know that I was going to wait there as long as they needed me for a question, say goodbye, and really thank them so much. But just please make sure you come say goodbye. Just come say goodbye.
Shake my hand.
Oh, that was mine. I would
goodbye.
shake
Yes.
everyone's hand, and people would stare at me, and you know, but I would shake everyone's hand, and sometimes I would throw in, I was like, so ladies and gentlemen, you know, New York City, especially if you're European, you find out if you have to tip everybody, tip your cabbie, tip your waiter, tip the bellman, tip your tour guide, ha ha ha, you know. And then I would be like, but I'm going to give you a tip, and I would give like restaurant recommendations or anything, but then I would shake their hand. So I'm like, I'm saying tip, I'm initiating.
I have a
hand
tip
contact.
for you.
So
Yeah, I used to say, I would drop like little, like during the tour, I would say, they would ask me a question, and I would say something like, oh gosh, I'll never forget one time, this guy gave me this huge tip just because I said blank.
Wow.
And that was like, was just like part of but the point is, there is a tipping page, and it would behoove us to mention it.
yeah,
And it's exp1.com/tips.
/ let's get this right. Come on now.
exp1.com/tips.
Tips. Yeah.
One of these days we will have like a flash on the screen, but we're going to be doing a lot of these, and we're hoping to sort of like, you know, help people like me and you and Eric.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed
Out of work, because we're tour guides, we're gig workers,
right,
and you know, and there's going to be a lot of future, you guys, you know, you can, I'm going to stop talking about it. We just,
yeah, it's really awkward to mention.
so sad. I'm going to start crying in a minute.
It's really awkward to mention, but if you enjoyed me, Linda, Eric, you can specify. If you're like, well, Eric was pretty cool, but the other ones suck, you can put it to Eric. And if you want to split it between the three of us, for the tour guide, because I think it asks you who, you can just put visiting Broadway, and we'll split it 3 ways. We'll give Eric the extra cent, you know, three-way split.
Oh, I haven't been involved in a three-way since the 70s, so that's cool.
Well,
Was
Eric,
it 54?
I didn't go to 54. I used to go to like,
CBG.
I would go to like Danceteria.
Oh.
with RuPaul. That was RuPaul's. Did you dance with RuPaul?
Who knows? Who remembers?
Well, Eric, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was such an amazing thing to be here and to have something to look forward to in this.
Oh,
life.
Eric, you're so sweet. I'm looking forward to some more of your webisodes of the news at home.
Yes, stay tuned. There'll be more.
And thank you for kicking off our guest feature. Next week we have Catherine Cates, who is she's been on Seinfeld. She's in the new series called Hunters with Al Pacino. She's the lady on, actually the babka lady on Seinfeld, the chocolate babka and the marble rye. She's the Snickers lady. Pete Zagarini, I taught him social studies. She does a lot, and she does some
Broadway
really
star.
but she does tons of theater in New York. I mean, she's one of these like hashtag always working. So she'll be with us next week. The week after that, we have Kurt oh, this is terrible. How do you say his name, Bobby? Yajian? Is that bad?
Oh my gosh.
He was in the original, he played Annas in the original movie version of Jesus Christ Superstar in 1975. And the topic that week will be from stage to screen. And Kurt is a very special guest in 2 weeks. And we'll see who else we can kind of wrangle up here. Maybe we'll get Eric Williams back when he's
Esther.
Yeah, because we'll get you and Esther together. Oh my gosh, with the baby, I'm dying.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna die.
Die.
Do we know if it's a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
It's a boy.
I love boys. Boys are so great. So Eric, thanks again.
Thank
Bobby.
you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for
Thank
everyone
you so much.
watching.
Thank you, everybody out there in YouTube land and Facebook land and joining us here. Thanks, Peter, Matt, Eric, Alexander for the great question. And we'll be back next week with Catherine Cates. Aviento.